सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरम्। Let us chant this together. Rupam drishyam locanam drika tadrishyam draktumanasam drishyadi vrittaya sakshi drigeva natu drishyate. Okay. I'll do an entire summary of last week's class and I'll try to simplify it. What's happening in this text called Drig, Drishya, Vivek? It's primarily focused on trying to help us understand who am I. This is its purpose. This is the purpose of all Vedanta, to teach us who am I. Because currently I have taken myself to be something insignificant, finite, riddled with pain and problems. And Vedanta says, in reality, you are perfect. You are complete. You are magnificent. It's a nice message to get. It's a nice message to have every day, because sometimes in our family, no one else is telling us that. So our rishis are telling us that. So in this text, Drig, Drishya, Vivek, the first 5 verses, we have seen this inquiry. Who am I? And it has finally come up to the notion that I am pure consciousness, which it referred to as the Sakshi. And that pure consciousness has no birth, has no death, has no aging, has no growth, is unlimited, is infinite, self-shining, and it is the nature of bliss because it is complete. Okay. So this is the nature, this is our true nature. However, it feels completely foreign. I don't feel like any of these things. If you ask me today, I'm not feeling very infinite. I'm feeling very finite, Swamiji. Feeling tired, feeling exhausted. Can't wait for tomorrow. Restrictions to be released. I can go to a cafe. Okay. Yeah. So although you said I'm infinite, I don't feel it. So why is it that Shastra is saying I'm one thing, but my experience is completely different? And that's because there's one factor in between. The truth, which is I'm infinite, and my experience, which says I am finite. There's one factor which has caused this problem, and that factor is called the ego. The ego. Okay. In spirituality, when we say ego, we are not talking about pride or arrogance. We are talking about mistaken identity. That's what ego means in the language of spirituality. Mistaken identity. It is not pride or arrogance. Okay? Clear. Now, in this Drig, Drishya, Vivek text, you are going to see one of the most in-depth analysis of this thing called ego. Actually, in no other text is such a detailed analysis of ego given. And that's why this is a little bit confusing, because the terms that are used are a little bit foreign. The concepts we're not quite used to, because other texts don't go into such detail. They say you have an ego, that's the problem. Let's just get rid of it. But here it says, let's dissect this ego to find out exactly what are its components. Okay. And this is what verse 6, 7, 8, and 9 of this text are doing. They're a dissection of what is called ego. They are probably the most difficult verses to take in the entire text. And they are very unique to this particular text. You won't find them necessarily in other texts, especially verse 8. Okay. Now, last week we saw verse 6 and 7. I think we'll chant them now, and I'll give you a bit of a recap. And I've put notes down as well to make this whole thing a bit clearer, because it is a little bit of a tricky concept to grasp. Okay, so I'm going to put the verses up. We'll chant the verses, and then we'll look at the summary of the notes. Okay, so this is verse 6. You can repeat. Oh, actually, no. Priya is here. Priya is going to do the chanting today. Now I have to just figure out how to enable her microphone. Priya, Priya, can you hear us? Can you talk? Priya?
Yeah.
Are you there? Say something.
Yes, Hari Om Swamiji.
Okay, you have to talk louder if you're going to chant, because you're a bit soft. So chant right into your microphone. I'll put the words up first, Priya, and then you chant. Priya will chant twice, okay? So she'll do first round, and then she'll do second round, okay? And then 1 minute extra coordination required. Okay, Priya, you can chant.
Chichaya veshato buddhau. Chichaya veshato buddhau. Bhanam dhistu dvidastita. Bhanam dhistu dvidastita. Ekaham kritiranyasyat. Ekaham kritiranyasyat. Antah karana rupini. Antah karana rupini.
I'll just stay on Priya. I'm just going to read this. Meaning here is the reflection of consciousness that enters into the intellect, makes it conscious, sentient. The thoughts in the intellect are of two kinds. One is the ego thought, and the other is of the nature of the inner instrument. Okay. Now, actually, we'll just stop. I'm going to explain this concept, give the summary here first. Again, in this particular verse, the language that is used is a little bit unusual. Okay, so those who have the book, or you can see the book in front of you, I am going to use the language of the text here, because if I don't use the language of the text, it's going to get very confusing. Okay, so in the textbook, yeah, in the actual verse, you have words called chichaya. Chichaya means reflection of consciousness. Yeah. You have another word called buddho, and another word called dhi. The buddho and the dhi mean the same thing in this verse. Okay, buddho and dhi mean the same thing, and their meaning is very unusual in this context. They mean, buddho and dhi mean 4 factors. The 4 factors are ego, intellect, mind, memory. Okay, so these 2 words is very unusual that it's used this way. Generally, it's not used this way. That's why it's a little bit tricky. So on the first line, buddho and dhi, you put equal sign, and that equals ego, intellect, mind, and memory. Now I'm going to bring up my notes, okay? So maybe it'll help you to understand this. Okay, now this is, okay. Now, if you see here, buddho is the, and it goes 4 components of intellect, mind, memory, and ego. This is a very unusual usage of the word. Generally, we understand this as antakarana. In technical Vedanta, this is called antakarana, but here all the language is different. And he's called these four components as buddhodhi. Chitchaya, a reflection of consciousness in the above. In the above, there is a reflection of consciousness, and it's called chitchaya. Chaya means reflection or shadow. Now, on the second line, it then says these buddho or dhi, it breaks it into two components. And it says on one side, we have a thing called aham kriti, otherwise called ahamkara, ego. And on the other side, there are three factors, intellect, mind, and ego, which in this verse, very unusually, they have called antakarana. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky because the language used is different to what we understand, okay? Now, those that are taking notes, write down these notes. Don't ask me to send them out because I don't know how to send all these things out. I don't know who is, or I don't even know who all the people are on this particular class. So now just going over it. Buddho is the four components of intellect, mind, memory, ego. In that, we have a thing of reflection. There's a reflection of pure consciousness. So pure consciousness called Sakshi is now reflected in these four factors. And in these four factors, the text now wants to delineate of the four. They're going to separate them into two groups. One group is just made out of ego, and the other group is made out of these three factors, which they have called antakarana. There's a reason it's called that. Karana means instrument. Karanam means instrument. And intellect, mind, there's a mistake here, sorry. That should say intellect, mind, memory. Okay, so there's a mistake, sorry, on my notes. I just did this earlier today. That should say intellect, mind, memory, not ego, okay? Let's see if I can correct that. Yeah, okay. So that should say memory. Now, these three here, actually, they're perfectly okay. They do functions. That's why they're called antakarana, because they actually function. They do things. They serve a purpose. This ego has got a funny thing. What does this ego do? This ego is called I thought, or the notion of ownership or identification. Okay? So it's this ego that causes all the problems. Because this ego is the one which then says, I am reflection of consciousness, or I am intellect, I am mind, I am my memories, I am my body. It identifies with anything and everything. So this ego, it's almost like, I'm going to pull this down now. This ego, it is like an identity thief. That's what it does. It goes around stealing people's identities. That's what it does. Its job is that. Yeah? And whoever's in front of it and spends a lot of time with it, it steals their identity. And it says, I am that thing. Yeah? So when it spends a lot of time with the intellect, it steals the intellect identity. And it says, I am now the intellect which knows so many things. When it spends a lot of time with the mind and its emotions, it steals the emotion, it steals the mind's identity. And it says, I am happy, I am sad. When it spends a lot of time with the body, it steals the body's identity and says, I am tall, thin, I am putting on lots of weight in lockdown. It says all these wonderful things. I should go on a diet. Yeah? It says all these things. So this is the nature of that ego, okay? Now, last week I gave an example, and even this example, I tried to draw this, okay? So you get to see some art now as well of trying to explain this through an example. The example we gave last week was that of the bucket. Yeah? Now, oh, look at that. We have it up here. Now here, there are various factors here. We have sun, sunlight, bucket with water in it. And there's a reflection of the sun in that water. Okay. Now to help understand the concept we just explained, water equals ego, intellect, mind, and memory. Those four factors, which in verse 6 is very unusually called Buddho or Di. Unusual. The bucket's called the body. That comes in verse 7. And this reflection in the bucket is reflected consciousness. It's called Chichaya. So it's called Chichaya. And the sun is the witnessing consciousness called Sakshi. Okay? And the minute the sun hits this water, because the water's nature is that it is reflective, because water is a reflective medium, immediately a reflection comes out. You can't stop that. It just happens. Same way, when consciousness hits these intellect, mind, ego, and memory, subtle body, because of the nature of that medium, it just shines. It becomes luminous. And it looks as if though it is sentient. It's the nature of the medium. Okay? So the subtle body by nature, the minute consciousness hits, it looks as if it's alive. Gross body doesn't have this function. That's why when consciousness connects with the gross body, it doesn't look like it's alive. Okay? And that's why consciousness is all pervasive. But why is it that we see a rock looks like it's inert? Why does the table look inert? Why does the couch look inert? Because they don't have a subtle body. Anything which has got a subtle body will look alive, sentient. It's what we call living. An ant has got a subtle body. Human being has got subtle body. Animals have got subtle body. Plants have got subtle body. Therefore, when consciousness hits them, they appear to be alive and sentient. I hope this makes sense. Yeah. Just like anywhere you put a bucket of water in front of the sun, you're going to get a reflection. You can't stop that. It will happen. But if the bucket is empty and there's no water in it, no reflection. No reflection. Okay. So here, okay, we have our bucket. Our bucket is called, this body is the bucket. That's why I say bucket list. It's the list for that bucket before the bucket tips over. So what do they say? When someone dies, tip the bucket. It's called tip the bucket. You see? All this was Vedanta only in action. He tipped the bucket. I mean, he died only. His water fell out. It's true. When your water falls out, then you have to go somewhere else. Your time with that bucket is over. So here, bucket is the body. Then inside this bucket is a thing called subtle body, which is made out of your four factors: intellect, mind, memory, ego. It's not what we call brain, okay? It's not what we call. Brain is still part of gross body. Subtle body, we can't see it. Yeah, we can experience it, but we can't see it. Okay. Now, pure consciousness is coming down, and pure consciousness is hitting the subtle body, and all of a sudden, subtle body appears to be sentient and alive. That's all. I am now alive, and I feel alive, and I can do things. I don't feel like a chair and a table. So if someone sits on me, I react. Don't sit on me. That's why I say, get off my head. You're on my head the whole day. Yeah. I'm not a chair. I'm sentient. I am not inert. Yeah. All this is because I have got subtle body, which is now reflecting this consciousness. Okay. Okay. Level 1. This is verse 6. I hope that is helping you to understand. Now let's look at verse 7. Okay. So now we'll go back and Priya, you will have to chant. I just have to find the verse. Okay, Priya is ready. And now chant away, Priya.
छायाहं कारयोरैक्यम् छायाहङ्कारयोरैक्यम् तप्तायः पिण्डवन्मतम् तप्तायः पिण्डवन्मतम् तदहङ्कारतादात्म्यात् देहश्चेतनतामगात् देहश्चेतनतामगात्.
The identity of the reflected consciousness and the ego, okay, is considered to be like that of heated iron ball. That ego, due to identification with the body, lends its consciousness to the body. Okay. Now here, what it's talking about now is the subtle body, those four factors, mind, intellect, memory, ego, they appear to be alive. Why? Because consciousness is hitting them. They are a highly reflective surface, and now it appears to be luminous or sentient. Now, what they do is they then take that reflected consciousness and shine it onto the body, this gross body. And then all of a sudden, this gross body looks like it is alive. So really, the book is just trying to explain how does this pile of inert matter look alive? And it's saying consciousness does not come in direct contact with it. Consciousness has to hit the subtle body, and then the subtle body then hits the gross body. Okay? Now you know, why are we doing all these type of intellectual gymnastics? I don't understand what a gross body is and a subtle body is, but my body is hurting right now. I want relief from my body. Now, all this is because we have got a big mistaken identity. We have taken ourselves to be the body. This is the problem. So it's trying to dissect our problem so it can undo the problem, we can find the solution. This whole process of investigation is called knowledge, okay? It's called knowledge, what we are doing. This is knowledge into who am I. So don't say, Swamiji, can we go back to Vedanta? This is Vedanta only. Don't be mistaken. You have to understand these concepts. Okay? Now, in this last verse, it is just explaining now how the gross body becomes sentient. That's all it's doing. But it brings in one other factor. The other factor it talks about, it gives the example of the hot iron ball. Yeah? And the hot iron ball, again, last week we explained, there's a piece of iron, you put it into fire. When you take it out of the fire, the iron now, which has shape, appears to be glowing and hot. It is glowing and hot. Now, because it is glowing and hot, and fire has no shape, it appears as if they have swapped some of their qualities. There seems to be some swapping of qualities going on over here, which is called in English mutual superimposition. Okay, mutual means both. Superimposition means projection. Both things have projected something onto each other. Okay, so in the example, what's happened is the iron rod is dark and is cold, and it has form. The form of the iron rod is as though projected onto the fire. And what is the fire's nature? Fire is luminous, fire is hot, but fire is formless. And now form has been put onto fire, and heat and light has been put onto iron. It's called mutual superimposition. They're each taking a quality from somebody else and projecting on themselves. Okay? We also do this, we look at what latest celebrity has what haircut, and then we go get that haircut, and then we superimpose that we have their fame, their name, their beauty, their wealth. The thing is, it's not mutual. They don't superimpose anything from our side. We only superimpose from their side. That's why athletes and all that, they have the jerseys, and then the fans go and buy the jersey. They buy the jersey because they want to superimpose that quality. So I want to feel like I'm the best basketball player in the world. Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls 23, and I wear it. But I'm not Michael Jordan. But when I wear it, I think I have taken his qualities, and I run around and I think I can do what he does, but I can't. Yeah. So projection. Okay. So this concept of projection is important because it's going to help understand how this ego has evolved. Okay. So that's why that verse has come in to help us explain now that there's a thing called this mutual superimposition. Okay. Now, in simple terms, just between now, it's saying actually here in the text, it's saying that the two things that have superimposed on each other, reflection of consciousness and ego. Ego thought, I thought. This I thought plus this reflection of consciousness, they have paired up with each other and superimposed things. The reflection of consciousness has superimposed sentiency onto I thought. So now the I thought is alive. The I thought is alive. Okay, that's what it has sent across. And what does the I thought send across? The I thought sends across modification and change, because I thought keeps changing. It's a thought. So change and transformation is superimposed onto the reflection of consciousness. And sentiency is superimposed onto I thought. Okay, that's what this verse is saying. Okay, if it doesn't make any sense, don't worry. If you don't know how the ego was born, it doesn't matter, because we already have one. You already got one, it's there, it doesn't matter. Okay, so don't panic if you don't understand the mechanics of it, because it's already there. I don't know, did I show you the notes on this? I'll show you the notes. Let's see what notes I put up. Okay, verse 7. These are the notes for verse 7. Okay, mutual superimposition. Reflection of consciousness gives sentiency to I thought. I thought's called ego. The I thought gives a sense of change, modification, transformation to consciousness. Then the sentient I thought reflects that sentience onto the physical body, which now appears to be alive. Okay, so it's explaining how the body now appears to be alive, and it's explaining how this projection is going on. This word superimposition is very important. This word projection is very important, because projection always talks about something that appears to be there, but is actually not there. That's a very important concept in Vedanta. Appears to be there, but not actually there. The movie is projected onto the screen, and it appears that the actor is there. It appears the people are there. It appears there is explosions and car chases and people falling in love, but in reality, nothing. 300 people staring at a white screen and paying $22 to do it. Wonderful. Isn't it absolute madness? Okay, so it's all an appearance. It's all an appearance. Okay. From the standpoint of God, he's looking at us going, all these people walking around with this apparent ego and crying about all their troubles. Yeah, but really nothing happening. Okay. So, that's verse 7. Now, verse 8 is the one that is very unique to this text. And here the level of dissection gets even deeper. Okay, now don't be scared. If you don't understand it, doesn't make any sense, don't worry. Like I said, you already have got an ego. You don't need to create another one. It's there. Done. We are just going to find out how it is operating. Okay, so let us now go to verse 8. Okay, Priya, are you ready to chant? Okay.
अहङ्कारस्य तादात्म्यम् अहङ्कारस्य तादात्म्यम् चिच्छाया देहसाक्षिभिः चिच्छाया देहसाक्षिभिः सहजं कर्मजं भ्रान्ति सहजं कर्मजं भ्रान्ति जन्यं च त्रिविधं क्रमात् जन्यं च त्रिविधं क्रमात्.
Okay. There is a threefold identification of the ego. One, identification with reflection of consciousness. Two, identification with body. Three, identification with the witness. These three are respectively: one, natural; two, born of past actions; and three, born of delusion. Okay. Oh. Lots of fancy words here. Okay. Now, let us go back to our bucket of water. Yeah. Our famous bucket of water, very important. It hasn't yet kicked the bucket. It's still there. Okay. Bucket with water. Now the water, don't forget, stands for those four factors: mind, intellect, memory, one side, and the other side, ego. Okay. So in that water, you've got to imagine that water's got four components: mind, intellect, memory, and then the other component is called ego. It's like when you make tea. Tea has got many components. It's got milk, it's got sugar, and it's got water and the tea leaves. Yeah, but it all comes together and looks like one tea. Wet chai, dry chai. I don't know what these different things are. I always thought chai was wet. I didn't know they have a wet chai. Wet chai, in case you weren't aware. So just like tea has got four components, now this water that's sitting in this bucket got four components: mind, intellect, memory. And that last component is ego. The ego is the one that we are trying to investigate. Now this ego, what is its nature? Identity thief. It goes around stealing identities. That's its nature. It keeps logging into everyone else's account, taking their passwords and pretending to be someone else. You see, that's what it does. Now, here it says this ego, it identifies with three factors. Three factors, or three different identities it tries to take up. Okay. The first one that it identifies with is called the reflection of consciousness. Now remember the bucket? The bucket's got sunlight, and the sunlight is now giving off a reflection. That reflection is now the first thing. That's its first identification. So the ego or I thought, I'm also going to call it I thought. This ego or I thought, it now steals the identity of reflection with consciousness. It takes on that identity. This identity is called natural. It's called natural. Sahajam. In Sanskrit, sahajam. It's in the text there. Yeah? Sahajam. So, ego, I thought, is called ahankara. It is now connecting with that which is called chichaya, reflection of consciousness. And that relationship is called sahajam. It's a natural relationship. Very natural relationship. Okay? Now there's two more identifications. Ego, I thought, ahankara, now connects with a second thing called deha. Deha means gross body, the gross body. Okay? And it now connects with this deha called gross body. And this relationship is called karma jam. Karma jam. Jam means born. Karma, born of karma. Karma jam. That's the second relationship or identity it is taken. Now, what's the third identity it takes? Ego, I thought, ahankara, plus witness, pure consciousness, sakshi, which I had indicated is the sun. In that example, it's the sun. Yeah, witness. So ego, I thought, plus witness, pure consciousness, and that is called brantijam. Brantijam, that relationship. Branti means delusion, and here it means ignorance. It's a relationship born of ignorance. Okay? So I'm going to pull up the notes because, again, lots of words and concepts here and here. Okay? Verse 8, 3 levels of ego. I thought plus reflection of consciousness. The relationship is called natural. I thought plus body. Relationship is called karmajam, born of karma. I thought plus witnessing consciousness is relationship born of ignorance, brantijam. And something to understand, when we say plus, I put plus, plus, and plus. When we say plus, what we actually mean is taken itself to be. Taken itself to be, because it is identity thief. It goes around stealing the identities of others. Okay, so it is, when we say plus, we mean it's taken itself to be that. Okay, so 3 levels here. These are the 3 levels. Okay. Now I'm going to again put the picture up. Look at the picture. Oh, look at the picture. And in the picture, which I put up 10 minutes before this class started, I was pulling together these things. Then you can see, again, bucket, water, reflection, sun. Yeah. Now I'll give 1, 2, 3. That stands for the 3 relationships which are given in the text. The first relationship is reflection of consciousness plus ego. Remember, ego's down here, ego's there. That's the first relationship. That is called sahajam. It's natural. It's natural. The second one, ego, I thought, plus the bucket. Karmajam. Born of karma. And last one, ego plus witnessing consciousness. That is called brantijam. Okay. Now, this understood. Now I'm going to talk about implications, why we need to understand all these things. Okay. Now, these 3 egos are there. The first one we said is called natural. What do you mean by natural ego? Natural ego here means the minute there is an I thought, remember the water, the minute there is a water, then immediately with the sunlight, there's going to be reflection. You cannot avoid that. You cannot avoid that. That wherever there is water, there will be reflection of consciousness. We can't stop that. It can never be stopped. The only way to stop that is get rid of the water. Now, what happens? Don't forget now our mutual superimposition, okay? What happens at this point in time? What happens is sentiency from the reflected consciousness jumps across onto the ego, and the ego becomes aware, the I thought, and the I thought sends across something. And what is that? It's just the notion I know. The notion I know. I know this is a table. I know this is a cup. I know this is a computer. I am aware, whatever you want to call it. And this identification is not problematic. This is the main thing we must understand. This is not a problem, this one. You need this in order to transact in the world. In the world, you must transact with this ego. You cannot avoid it. Because people often have this question, if the person has no ego and identity and individuality, how does he live in this world? No, the realized master lives with this ego. Yeah, this is a transactional ego. We'll call it transactional, and it's not problematic. All it does is it says, I know this is a cup, and I need to know it's a cup, otherwise I won't know how to interact with it. I will knock it over. I might think it's a hat, put it on my head. I don't know what I'll do with it. No, I need to know this is a cup, and the cup has to hold water, and from the water I drink. This is not a problem. This helps me to transact. Yeah. So this first ego is called natural, and it means it is not problematic. We do not need to do anything to get rid of it. No work required. Yeah. So on this one, no work involved. Let it be there. Okay. Ego number one. Ego number two is called my identification with the body. Okay. So I thought, and now body. And these two now are going to throw things across at each other. Yeah. So now what are they going to send across? Yeah. So when the ego now connects with the body, it sends across, well, it sends across the reflection also of consciousness. The body then appears to be alive. We saw that in the 7th verse. That the ego sends across the reflection of consciousness and says, I am now alive. The body feels alive. What does the body send across? The body sends across its qualities. And what are the qualities of the body? It is born, it dies, it ages, it decays, it has disease. Oh, not such wonderful qualities to take up, but yep, they go across. So when there's identification with the body, you're going to find all these things come. Birthday. Okay, celebrate my birthday because I was born. Birthday means what? The day the body was born. Not your ego. Your ego's been here for a long time. That is no birthday. That thing's been around for ages. But body is born. Yeah. And then this body is worried about what? Coronavirus. Will the body get coronavirus? Why? Disease. Body gets disease. And body gets aches. And body gets pains. Yeah. And body sometimes looks good. And it sometimes doesn't look so good. So when it doesn't look good, you turn your camera off and attend the class. When the body looks decent, you keep your camera on, then you attend the class. You see, all different things are there. So all these dharmas, these are pushed across to the ego. So now the ego, the feeling of I am, is taking up the qualities of the body, which means birth, death. Death is the element. We all know the body must perish. So now the notion that I will perish has entered into me. This causes problems. The notion I am aging and decaying and will get ill causes problems. The notion I'm experiencing pain, physical pain, causes problems. So now you see, this second ego is a problem. Identification with the body causes problems in life. The first one doesn't cause because it just gives you sentiency. I know, I'm aware of things. I can now transact with the world of objects. But the second one causes problems. Yeah. It says, I am aging, I am decaying, I am going to die, I am experiencing physical pain. So, problematic. Number 2, problematic. Okay? Now let's go to number 3. Ego number 3. Ego number 3, ego thought. Yeah? Plus pure consciousness, Sakshi. This pure consciousness, Sakshi, was the one that was given in verse 5. Yeah? When it said in verse 5, when they had to explain the Sakshi, it was given there. No deti nastamat ityeva nayati nakshayam. Navriddhim yati nakshayam. Yeah? That was given there. Now, what do these two transfer to each other? Okay. The ego is not going to send any consciousness to consciousness. Consciousness already got consciousness. Right? So, consciousness, pure consciousness, it can send existence. It sends a thing called existence to the ego. Pure consciousness is giving existence. Reflected consciousness is giving sentiency. Okay? These are sometimes just little details in Vedanta which it doesn't really matter too much. Okay? Because existence and consciousness are the same thing, only don't get too excited. Okay? So it's just to fulfill our equation here. We are just saying existence comes across, and now the ego, the I thought can say I exist. At least I can exist. That's what it takes. Now don't forget, the witnessing consciousness, what's its nature? Pure existence and unlimited. Infinite. It is infinite. What does the ego send across to consciousness? The ego sends across to consciousness the notion you are limited. That's the notion that goes across. Because consciousness, witness, is infinite. Like the sun in the sky is infinite. It's huge, all pervasive. But now what does the ego thought send across? It sends across the thought, I am incomplete. In Sanskrit, apurnam. I am incomplete. This is a big problem. This is the cause of all our problems. Yeah? All our problems come down to this notion. I am incomplete. Every other one is okay. You can deal with. This is the big one. And this haunts us in every aspect of our life. Every aspect of our life. This feeling of being incomplete, insufficient, inadequate. It's there in every aspect of our life. Yeah? When we look at work, we look at all our work accomplishments, and as much as we have accomplished, we still feel not quite there yet. Isn't it? As much as you achieve, we're always climbing ladders to get somewhere. And then even when you become the top CEO of that company, you then have to look at other companies and say, we're not as big as them. So at work, there's a feeling of being inadequate, incomplete. In our relationships, feeling of inadequacy. I am not worthy of love. When you have the notion that I am not worthy of love, as many people say, I love you, it's never enough. Because you feel incomplete. The rest of the world is showering you with hugs and kisses and presents. But because you inherently feel incomplete, as much as they do for you, you'll always feel it's not enough. I was talking to someone, and I remember them saying, I said, how do you feel? How do you feel if your husband says you're a good cook? Huh? I said, are you happy with that compliment? They said, yeah. But do they see me only as a cook? Is that what? That was their response. And I said, you know, they paid you a compliment, but even in that compliment, you're not happy. Why? Apurnata, feeling incomplete. He said, oh, you see me, it's cook around here. So if you tell that person, oh, food is so delicious, you're so good at cooking, they turn around, that's all I am for you. Cook or what? Huh? That person said, I want to be everything for that person. I want to be their be all and end all. I said, well, that's a big assignment. I'm not sure we can achieve that. But you see how this sense of apurnata plays out in relationship, how the sense of apurnata, incompleteness, plays out in work, how sense of apurnata, it plays out in every health, even in health. As fit as you are, they keep giving you the next level of fitness to get to. And the question, how fit do you want to be? Are you expected to run a triathlon? I just met someone and they are doing what? Intermittent fasting. I didn't even understand what intermittent fasting was, because I said no such thing. If I see food, I'll eat it. People ask me, Swamiji, do you watch your diet? I watch my diet. I watch everything I eat as it goes into my mouth. That's called watching your diet. Yeah. Every morsel of food that enters into my mouth, I look at it. Therefore, I'm watching my diet. Yeah. This was the intermittent fasting. So they said, I think 12 hours, 16 hours you're not supposed to eat. Yeah. 8 at night to 12 o'clock the next day. Then you have one meal. And then you have 8 hours and you have your next meal. Yeah, this is an intermittent fasting. And then I said, whoa, I said, wow, this is impressive. So then they told me, okay, I finished at 8 o'clock. So I said, next meal's at 12. He said, no. Now my app, all this is tracked by the app. The app is saying, go for 18 hours. From 16, go to 18 hours. So, yo, huh? To me, 16 was more than enough. Now it's saying go to 18, and then 18 it'll make 20, and then 20 will make 24, and then finally say don't eat. Why do you need to eat? Eat once a day, eat once every 3 days, eat once every 6 months. You become like Dhruva, didn't eat anything. Huh? If you realize God, then I support this. If you just become emaciated, then I think it's pointless. Because then you'll have to end up in the hospital with all the people with coronavirus, and they'll ask you, why is this one come to the hospital, decided not to eat for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, huh? And taking up unnecessary hospital beds. Eat your food. But you see, every field you go, they'll get push more, push more, push more. Everything is a push more. No one ever says you've done enough. No one ever says you're good enough. And even when they say it, you don't believe it. You're always suspicious. Oh, what do you want out of me? Why are you saying that I'm so good? There's something you want or something you've done wrong. And that's why you're apologizing by saying I'm a wonderful person. There's something you have done. All this suspicion, all this feeling of inadequacy is coming because ego has now strangled this witnessing pure consciousness. Okay? Mutual superimposition. Consciousness has lent existence to the ego. Ego has imprisoned it with a feeling of incompleteness. Okay? This really is the one. This is the one you have to go after. Brantijam. This is the ego that is the major problem. Brantijam. Born out of Branti. You can also go Avidyajam if you want. Ajnanajam. Born out of ignorance. This ego is the cause of every one of our sufferings. Every one of our sufferings is brought about because of this ego. So really, if we look at it, our biggest problem is with this third ego. And therefore, the text is going to say, we're going to teach you how to get rid of the third ego largely. Hmm? Now, if the problem is because of Bhranti, which means delusion or ignorance, then the solution becomes knowledge. Knowledge becomes the solution because the problem is ignorance. Okay? And the ignorance is largely in the form of feeling incomplete. Okay? Feeling incomplete. Okay. So now this is a very detailed analysis of ego, isn't it? 3 levels of ego. I hope it's not too complicated. Yeah. The first one we said is not a problem because it's transactional ego. Sahajam, natural transactional ego, allows me to transact with the world. The second one, karmajam, born of karmas, identification with body. It creates fears of death. It creates pain. It creates anxiety because of illness, disease. So it's problematic. The second one's problematic. And the third one causes inadequacy, feelings of insufficiency. Yeah. Now I've given you that picture of the sun and the bucket and the reflection and all that. In this entire thing, you must understand you in reality are not the bucket. You in reality are not the water. You in reality are not even the reflection. You in reality are the sun. That which is infinite, that which is self-luminous, and that which is above and beyond all these problems that are happening in the bucket. All this problem is happening in a bucket. And you are far above and beyond all of them. Yeah. This is what we have to become aware of. And that's why I said this sharing of qualities is called superimposition. It's projection. It doesn't actually happen. It doesn't actually happen. But when you're not paying attention, you can get fooled by a projection. When you're not paying attention, we get fooled by projections. Yeah, happens all the time. So we have to pay attention and we have to inquire. If we don't inquire, things appear in one way. But on inquiry, this is not how they are. Like the blueness of the sky. Sky appears to be blue. On inquiry, space is colorless. Horizon appears to be flat. On inquiry, Earth is round. All these things are just ways that we get fooled on a daily basis. We get fooled. Yeah. Now, this foolishness has been going on for many lifetimes. We are still under the spell of this foolishness. Therefore, an inquiry into this ego and now adding knowledge. Adding knowledge to what? We need to add knowledge to end up freeing ourselves from this delusion-born identification. Brantijam tadatmyam. That is the problem. Once we get rid of that, ooh, wonderful. There is a feeling of being complete. And with that feeling of being complete, can I still transact in the world? Yes, because the other ego still continues on. Transactional ego, sahajam continues on, and it's not a problem. It's brantijam, which is a problem. Karmajam, which is a problem. Yeah. This is how the enlightened master works. The enlightened master will also have the I thought, but his I thought is only connected with reflection of consciousness and allows him to transact in the world. But because his Brantijam, the other two egos are dissolved, he has no problems. He's never fooled, he's never deluded. He's a Sthita Prajna. When I say Sthita Prajna, what is the knowledge? He's steady wisdom. What is the wisdom? This is the wisdom. The wisdom that I am not this finite, incomplete individual, nor am I this body which is going to suffer illness, age, and death. I am not any one of them. What am I? Infinite, all-pervasive, brilliant, pure consciousness. Above and beyond all of these transactions. That is the knowledge he has. Even we have got that knowledge, but our knowledge is not sthita, it is asthita, unsteady. Because it's unsteady, we get caught back in this world. All you need to do is make it steady. If you make that knowledge steady, buzz, each and every moment, you will feel full and complete. Life is one beautiful revelry and joy. Atmarati, Atmakridaha. Revels in the self and sports in the self. He has wonderful time. Guruji was taking Kathopanishad, he's taking Samodate Modaniyam Hilabdva. Modate, he revels outside. Why? Modaniyam, he has discovered that which is pure bliss. Yeah. So all Upanishads say this. Ananda Atma Brahmapucham Pratishta, nature of Atma, pure Ananda. Revels in that. That Ananda is infinite. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Ananta means no limits. No confines, no imprisonment. Yeah. No feeling of being insufficient. None of that is there. This ego, the Brantijam is the problem, okay? So, I'm just looking at the next verse, which should I get? Let us just chant that verse. It's basically saying what I just said now. We'll chant that verse and we can kind of conclude this chapter of the text. Okay.
Sambandhino sator nasti. Sambandhino sator nasti. Nivritti sahajasya tu. Nivritti sahajasya tu. Karmakshayat prabodhacha. Karmakshayat prabodhacha. Nivartete kramadubhe. Nivartete kramadubhe.
Okay. So here it's talking about now how to deal with these three egos. The connection with the reflected consciousness cannot be annihilated. It is natural. That's what we call the non-problematic ego. By exhaustion of karma and by direct knowledge, the other two are respectively eliminated. Okay? So, sahajam, ego number one, natural ego, don't need to get rid of. It's fine. It can, as long as there is an what do you call that? The water is there, then reflection will be there. No problems with that one. You're allowed to keep 1/3 of your ego, you're allowed to keep. Isn't that nice? You don't need to give up all your ego. So now every time you fight with people, say you have such a big ego, you say Shastra said I can keep 1/3 of it. So I've kept 1/3 of my ego. Okay. Now the other two, how do you get rid of? The ego, which is connected to the body, is born out of karma. It says when that karma ends, that identification will also go. When that karma ends, it will go. Karma kshayat. It will go. Okay. And the big one, number 3 is the big one. That's the problem one. Brantijam ahankara. That one goes when? Born out of ignorance and delusion, it goes prabodhat. Prabodhat means with enlightenment, with knowledge. Due to knowledge, due to enlightenment. That one goes. The knowledge that I am the infinite pure consciousness and not this bucket, not this I thought, not this reflection of consciousness, None of these things, not the intellect, not the mind, not the memory, none of these things are I am the pure one. When that takes place, that one goes. Yeah. Okay, that's what it's saying there. We will look a little bit more just at that last verse next week. But for now, I hope this is the most difficult portion of the text. Okay, so if you manage to get over this class and you didn't collapse in a swoon after this and have a headache and need to eat some ice cream, then you've done extremely well. After this, it's smooth sailing. Okay, so with that, I'm very happy I managed to get through this. I might need to go eat some ice cream after this. Let's see what happens. It's a very tough topic. Okay. We'll complete that for this week, and next week we continue on. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.